It's very, very much a pleasure to be here. My name is Chris Young, as I said. I'm in our public service strategy and consulting practice, and my colleague.
And my name is Jenny Brody, and I am not from Atlanta. I'm from Columbus, Ohio. And I'm our global public sector research lead. So we are excited to be here with you in person, and we promise we're not just going to talk at you. This is going to be interactive.
In fact, we're going to have you get up in just a second. Nobody groan just yet. Nobody groan and throw anything at us, but in just a second, we're going to ask you to get up and help us out with a few things and with one another. So what are we here to talk about?
Oh, I thought you were doing this. What are we here to talk about?
Oh, I thought you were going to go ahead.
So we know the world's changed. You all have experienced it. I think we all experienced the world in different ways this past year and a half. So we want to talk a little bit about what that means, how that has impacted the way we interact with the world, and in turn impacted the way that people interact and expect things from the government. So let's start with a little show of hands. Who here ordered dinner and had it delivered to their door in the past year? Everyone? Anyone order cocktails? Definitely.
It's all right, you can admit it.
We needed it.
How many of you had other household supplies like dog food, diapers, anything like that delivered? Yep, okay. How many of you did something online like watch a school performance or a worship service or anything along those lines? Anything that you, okay?
Anyone call their doctor and do a video teleconference? Yeah, so we all interacted a little bit differently. Just kind of like to illustrate, you know, I didn't order DoorDash every week before the pandemic, but I definitely do now. So the way we're interacting with the world has changed, and we have been thinking about this as kind of 3 minimums. And we want to work with you guys to understand how you're thinking about it, what that means for states. The first one I think we just demonstrated online. You can put anything in your phone, order it, it comes to your door. It's usually fast, unless the DoorDasher gets lost. And it's often personalized. I can get exactly what I want when I want.
And so the fun thing about these, and maybe the scary thing about these, is if all of you were not in government, if you were just Joe, Jane, citizen out there, you would probably say, gosh, I could get really used to having everything delivered to my door, online, fast, personalized, and it gets to me pretty quickly. Well, the problem that we're going to be facing in state governments going forward is that same consumer is also a citizen, is also a resident, is a voter, and now they expect their government to do similar, if not even better things, right? I see a lot of heads going up and down. And that's the posture we now find ourselves in. So now when we begin to think about the work that all of you do, and think about all the things in state government that support the mission of the various agencies out there, how do they adapt on a dime, seemingly? How do they adapt quickly to this new set of expectations that not just not just consumers, not just customers who go to Amazon.com or anywhere like that, but citizens, residents have of their government?
Want to go to the video
next?
All right, so we've been exploring this idea with our retail colleagues at Accenture, and we talked to the chief customer officer at Best Buy, and we really liked what she had to say. We think a lot of it can apply to government. So we're just going to show a quick video of part of that interview with her. If I can, let's see.
Putting the customer at the heart of all of our decision making. We kind of aligned on 3 guiding principles. The first was to keep our customers and employees safe. As you can imagine, given everything going on in the world, it had to be first and foremost in terms of importance. The second was to really protect the employee experience. And the third was to come out of the pandemic a vital and a vibrant company. And so as our customers' shopping habits and needs changed kind of over the course of time, we had a really clear view of why and how we needed to adjust to better serve people. And we kept these guiding principles really at the forefront of all of our decision making, and it gave us a level of focus that was incredibly helpful. Our mantra, certainly going into the pandemic, but very much accelerated, was customer obsessed, digital first. And customer obsession means meeting all the needs you talked about, and the fact that that all begins digitally. Our curbside pickup experience was in less than 200 stores rolling into the pandemic, and we scaled it nationwide within a matter of really 48 hours. And that was so that we could safely get consumers their products they needed from us very quickly. The customer is in control. They really are driving their expectations of us, and we need to readily adapt to them. And I think what we're seeing is that they have really high expectations for experiences, and that can be influenced across industries, across sectors. It really is, an experience I have in one industry can shape my expectations of another industry. And then the final is that I think customers are going to continue to stay very digitally focused and kind of taking a digital first mentality to all of the things they are trying to do with their lives. We believe the customer is in control, and that isn't going to change. So we have to continue to anticipate their needs and try to meet them. And we know that they're moving faster than we are by the very nature of the way they're engaging with these digital experiences on the ready every single day. And so we know we need to be flexible and really willing to move and iterate our way to meet those expectations and kind of embrace the mantra that change is here to stay. And so we have to get comfortable with it. And this idea of going back to the way it was is just not real. Obviously, digital became a very important part of navigating the pandemic. And as we've talked about, a very large expectation of how we serve customers in the future. Being clear on the outcome you're trying to drive and the customer experience you're trying to enable. And so we talked a little bit about curbside earlier in our dialogue, and this is a great example in terms of we were really clear on the outcome we needed to deliver. We were closing our stores for safety reasons, and we wanted to get people their technology. And when you're that clear on the outcome you're trying to drive, it creates a level of focus that allows you to scale something nationally in a matter of days. And then being clear on that customer experience is we knew it needed to be seamless and safe. And I would say we absolutely continued to iterate on that as we went through executing it. But just being clear on the outcome you're trying to drive and the experience you're trying to create is super important.
Lessons look familiar to any of you? I mean, I looked at, I saw a lot of heads going up and down. So even though this is private sector, I'm blown away by the parallels. And I should have said this before I got up here. Both Jenny and I, we spent most of our career in the public sector before coming. I worked for the state of Georgia for 11 years. 11 years. I have to go back. Then I worked for the federal government for a while. So Accenture's the first private sector job I've had, and I was listening to this, I'm thinking, gosh, the parallels. What blew me away is when Allison said, when the pandemic started, they had less than 200 stores that were doing curbside delivery, and in 48 hours, they transitioned all of their stores, A-double-L, all, over 1,000 in 48 hours. Wow, how did they do that? But now, again, the theme that we're going with, that change has come, that change ain't going anywhere, right? Because now the consumer, the citizen, by extension, is demanding of that.
All right, so I also thought it was telling that she said these changes are going to stick around and the expectations are across industry. So we've been thinking a lot about how what I expect when I go to Amazon, when I order my food, is also what I expect when I interact with my government. So we want this to be interactive. We don't have all the answers. We know you guys have had a lot of great experiences, and well, maybe they weren't all great, but a lot of experiences over the past year and a half. And so we want everyone to get up and move around. You'll see over here, we put some beautiful posters with Vanna White over there. And under each of those, there's a question. And we want to think about what this means for government, where we should be thinking as we move forward, and as we emerge from COVID. Under each of these, you'll see Post-it notes and Sharpies, and we want you guys to get up, interact with this data. We call it a data walk. I know we've done it with you guys once before, and it was really, I just accidentally, okay. And it was great, and you guys had wonderful, amazing insights. So get up, look at each of these, Take those Post-it notes, make some notes, what do you think? And we'll be doing that for about 10 minutes and then bring back together everyone for discussion.
You could start anywhere. It doesn't matter. There's no order. So that all the posters, y'all come on there, and the questions, the prompts are here.
And we have a really great citizen video that we didn't show because it's time today, but one of them said exactly that. Like, I want to be able to fill something out online. If I can't do it all, just someone tell me I'm missing something. Someone tell me they'll get back to me. So I think that's really important. This other one I just think sums it up very well, that we will change, the expectation that government will change with retail, with the rest of the world as we've all evolved through this. Anyone want to offer any comments?
Yeah, please.
You guys had all the good answers.
Washington, you win.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. My master's thesis in 2006 was all about people's very low expectations of government. You walk in the door, you're already in a hole with people's expectations. And so, but now everything is changing, so they do expect us to change. And some leaders I've heard say, well, people don't expect much from government. We don't have the budget, so we're not going to live up to an Amazon's expectations, or we're not going to live up to some of these other places that have way more resources. But that's just not the way to do business. And so battling our own internal monologue and around how we do customer service is a huge issue.
That's fantastic. And something you said triggered me in this. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but on this one, this next one, you may have noticed this figure. You just said how you're already in a hole. Well, this new figure, and it comes all from the same research, right? 85% of people expect services from the public sector to be as good or better than commercial. How many of you saw this during the pandemic as you observed in state government, as you talked to your state agency heads, as you talked to the governor's office and beyond? You saw people who never interacted with government now interacting with government. I see a lot of heads going. So the people who may have never had anything to do with state government ever before, because they unfortunately lost their job in March and April of last year, because we could just go on, because their kids' school shut down and they had to find an alternative. I mean, we could go on and on with the dominoes. They interacted with state government or local governments in a way that they never had before.
So we can move on to online. Where have you seen this done well? I'm seeing lots of Instacarts, Amazons, Amazon plus one, meetings nowhere. Very much felt this one. And then there's a couple state examples, if the states wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit. Looks like Tennessee said my Tennessee T by T. You guys want to share a little bit about that?
Come on, Rocky Top.
Well, actually, so I'm from Arizona, but I know about Tennessee.
Okay.
And I know that they've got a MyTN program, which is, again, kind of a unified approach to providing citizens a single experience to get into a lot of their services. Texas just stood up Texas by Texas, which is a great program as well. I think, follows a lot, I think, a number of the themes of what you're going for here.
Absolutely. If we look at increased demand, what steps can government take? There's a lot of cloud services, central data centers, one-stop customer portals, common digital strategies. This one, though, I think is really important and maybe something we don't always do. User testing with real customers. Anyone want to offer some thoughts on the ideas they shared here? Washington, you get the gold star.
You will hear me say this over and over again. You have to, if you're going to roll out a new process and a new digital footprint, a new anything, you have to test it with real customers. And the Washington Department of Licensing did this maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and they figured out all the top tasks. People want to renew their car tabs, they need to renew their driver's license, they need to get a vote, something or other. And so they figured out how people did that. They actually called in folks, they went through it all, and they have, I can zip down to a coffee shop in my city and pick up my tabs after I've ordered them a couple of hours. They put them in a self-service thing where you can just pick them up. It's amazing. I don't have to interact with a human. And this was way pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing that they took those steps. And it blew everybody away. Wow, this is government. So it was just great.
And you said with licensing, we did something similar back home in Georgia with occupational licensing.
Okay.
So with people getting, and pre-pandemic, and little did we know that when the pandemic came along, my gosh, people's livelihoods and their ability to do whatever they needed to do, cosmetologists, barbers, etc., people that your government regulates, licenses, the ability to have that kind of easy portal, that kind of easy access. Now in this case, they didn't have a kiosk, you know, where you, or somewhere where you go down and get it. You didn't have to have it like that, but it's the same mentality. It's the same approach. So.
One of the pain points, I'll be real quick, is that we're getting close to implementing a new parking system for our state. And so people who drive to the Capitol campus and have to register or park as a visitor, and then 60,000 odd state employees. And we haven't user tested it. And so if we had brought in the concept of user testing, paid for the concept of user testing, and built that into the contract, then it would be much easier to do it on the back end. Because I'm fighting tooth and nail to get the actual user testing to happen, while the IT folks and the back end folks are like, we just need to get this implemented so we can move on. I'm like, no, you have to have the customer in this with you every step of the way. So.
I was just in Portland, and their parking is called Parking Kitty, which just made it sound so much more fun than Park Columbus, which is what we have in Columbus.
Parking Kitty?
Yeah, I recommend.
Like that kind of kitty?
Yeah, I recommend giving it a snazzy name. One other one here was the plan, skill set, and culture change. I think culture change is something we're experiencing at every part of our life, but especially in the workforce. Anyone want to comment on that at all?
Nobody? It does seem to me in this one that if we went back and kind of if we clump those things together, though, one of the common themes is the need for a comprehensive strategy, right? I see heads, not death by 1,000 paper cuts on this, because we're at a pivot point because of the one on the left, right? Permanent left, correct? People want permanent changes. They want to see something different now, and now we're at a point where we got to do it. And you got to have a comprehensive strategy, which then leads us to FAST.
All right, FAST. Where have you seen this done well? But we only got 2, digital banking, Amazon, and mortgage banking applications. We were just talking to some financial services this morning who told us that the goal for that financial services is setting for themselves is that with your mortgage, you would have 0 human interactions. It could all be done. Now they know that that's not going to happen, right? That you're still going to need to talk to a person, but that's the goal they're setting to get themselves in that mindset, which I think is really interesting and would get you a mortgage pretty fast.
And then I've counted the word automate 8 times here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, like 7 or 8 times. So what can your offices do to help reduce wait times? Automate. Anyone want to elaborate on that? Nobody? I mean, 8 people wrote it. so, yes, please.
So I was one of the 8 that wrote automate. And actually, when I wrote it, I was just coming off of the personalized
Yeah, sure.
And so I was kind of chuckling to myself that I was writing automate, because it's a real, it's pretty tricky to automate something and yet still have it feel like it's personalized.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, this is the perfect segue. Like, it could not have been a better written segue for us. Jenny?
All right, well, first I want to check. Pam, are we good on time?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay, we'll do it fast. So personalization for government, what does that mean? This is the question that we've been grappling with, because I don't want government to suggest what I should buy like Amazon does. And I do buy what they suggest a lot. So this is a harder question. So we're seeing some responses here. Citizen portal, individualized records, privacy concerns in all caps here, reduce fraud, which is very important. Anyone want to comment at all on those? It looks like the same person wrote privacy concerns and reduce fraud, so I'm putting you on the spot on how we deal with that personalization. Yep.
Well, I think in order to get to personalization, you're talking about having to have some kind of identity and profile for the individual, and along with that comes the privacy concerns, but also the opportunity for fraud reduction. Because I know who this person is, I know who they are across all touch points. I can do a better job of vetting their eligibility.
Yeah.
And there's a cost.
I love that. And it's, as we think about, and I know we'll be sensitive at times, we think about personalization. As we talk to state leaders, sometimes we think that maybe what people say when they tell us personalized, when we interact with citizens, maybe what they're really meaning here is convenient as opposed to personalized, because that, like Jenny said, that personalization connotes, my gosh, they know that they've got a cache of cookies that they know what I've looked at online, and they're beginning to tell me that, and really what they want to know is, hey, for your state agency clients, that when it's time for me to get my license renewed, I get a text that reminds me, hey, Chris, your license comes due in 60 days in case you've forgotten time to call the DMV. Hey, Chris, if you want to renew your fishing license this year, or your annual Georgia Recreation Parks Pass, it's blah, 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 blah. That's maybe what they're talking about, but to do it does require some of these things over here. So, Jenny?
I think you covered it pretty well. The only other thing I was going to add is when we think about personalization, one person we talked to said, personalization means to me that I start something online, I get stuck, I call, that person answers, and they know who I am and what I'm trying to do, because it's all connected to my identity. So going back to that identity as well. Definitely a harder one for government. We're hearing our retail folks say this, they talk about this all the time. We see the Amazon, the Stitch Fix examples, but it definitely means something different in government.
So we want to be sensitive to your time, keep you on time. So we were given 3 more minutes, so that's it for us. But that being said, Jenny and I and our colleague Ryan Oakes will be here the whole conference. We're working in all these spaces. We'd be happy to have additional conversations with any of you about any of this stuff that we're doing.
And likewise, while Chris is watching the Atlanta Braves game, if you want to come and discuss some of these ideas, because they're tough ideas to grapple with, and we all have the common goal of wanting to make government better. So happy to think through this further.
We can discuss them while the Braves are playing. That might be the best. If the Braves are up, that might be the best time to discuss them. So, thank you so much for your participation. We look forward to being with you the rest of the conference. Thank you.